I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a father now, so I'm a dad. Like I'll be fine at this. I'll wing it just like everybody else. Like, I didn't even know enough to know that I was even winging it at the time. We're supposed to be good at this. You get a wake up call over and over and over again, how unprepared for fatherhood you really, really are. And you're scratching your head being like, why is this not working? Like, why am I so frustrated? Like, why can I get my arms around this? Like, what is even happening here?
You're a man living in the modern world in a time when men and manhood are not what they once were. You live life on your own terms. You're self-sufficient. You think for yourself and you march to the beat of your own drum. When life knocks you down, you get back up because in your gut, you know that's what men do. You're a badass and a warrior. And on the days when you forget, we are here to remind you who you really are.
So I'm a father of four boys. So I have a 19-year-old son. So Jeff, I heard you had an 18-year-old. So I have a 19-year-old son. I have a 17-year-old son. I have an 11-year-old son and a 9-year-old son. And if you ever want to know what it's like raising a house full of boys, just imagine that you're in a fraternity house where everyone's drunk, no one wants to sleep, and you never leave. That's really my life.
Good example.
I mean, but I truly love it. I don't know what I would do with girls, number one. Number two, there's so many shenanigans that, keep me highly entertained in this house. And I've learned that I have learned that there is a disruption and there is noise that is deafening when you're raising four boys. And the noise that I'm talking about and the thing that is deafening is silence. And I really, really love how loud and energetic my house is. And when I get very small windows of time where there's no boys in this house and their friends aren't here and they're not raiding the refrigerator in the pantry, or I'm not tripping on their shoes, or, falling over, the toothpaste that's on the ground and that kind of thing, like I start to get a glimpse of what it's going to be like without them. And I really don't like it. Really don't like it. It doesn't sit well with me at all. So, but yeah, I've written a few books. I have another book that's hitting the shelves. It's this one on September 16th. It's called The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood. It's basically a book that over the past 10 years of doing this work, I've put all the lessons learned into this book. So basically, I got you covered until your kid is about 18, and then after that, like I'm on God's good humor because I'm learning that one, because now I'm raising a 19-year-old and what it's like to raise an adult son. That one's that one's different, and that's why I'll never call myself an expert. And just the last thing I'll say is this too. When I went through a publisher to write this book, the publisher is not married, has no kids. I know a few of you guys don't have any kids, and a few of you guys aren't married. And he's like, when I signed the deal to write the book, he's like, "What are you going to title the book?" And I said, "It's The Pursuit of Legendary Fatherhood." And I already had the book done. The manuscript was done. I was just submitting it to him. And he kind of laughed, and he was just like, "I don't like that title." And I was like, "Okay." I was like, "Why do you not like the title?" And he goes, "Well, why not just call it Legendary Fatherhood?" And I go, "You're not a dad, aren't you? Are you?" And he goes, "No, I'm not." And I was like, "So you realize that there's really no such thing as that. However, there's the pursuit of it. There's the growth of it. There's the constant iron sharpens iron. There's the constant, battle within yourself to be better than you were the day before. No one gets to the top of the mountain and says, 'Look, I did it. I'm a legendary father.' There's only one perfect man that walked the earth, and I'm not him, and not even close." So there's the pursuit of it. Those of you guys who have kids, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, and that's really what it's all about. So yeah, that's my, I definitely have a story of why I do this work and all that good stuff, but I don't have an agenda. I don't have a script. What I like to do is I want to serve you guys in any way possible. So this is not my agenda, and I don't believe it should be. I think this should be your agenda. So whatever you guys want to throw my way, whether it's questions, whether it's struggles in relationships, like I can talk about marriages is something that I'm really good at. Like I'm not good at a lot, but I am good at marriage. I am good at relationships with a significant other. I'm really good at connecting with kids. I'm good at the fitness realm as far as like physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. I'm still working on my patience muscle. That one's tough for me. I'm not so great at that. And I tend to do a lot of fire ready aim versus ready aim fire in my life. So that
All right, so let me start off with a question and then we'll just open it up. Um, what is the average man, be he in marriage or at least in a committed relationship, what are they typically missing that causes them not to be successful?
I mean, so the typical man, right? So the dynamics of a relationship. Yeah, so they've done studies on this. Are you guys all in Canada, by the way?
Most of us.
Except for Jazar.
Except for Jazar.
He's in Tennessee.
Okay, okay. I just asked that just so I know my audience, but like as far as like, the divorce rate, I believe here in the US is it's 51%. Right. So that tells us something right there that half the people that walk down the aisle, um, they end up divorced, right? But here's the crazy thing. This is the statistics that a lot of us don't know. What about the 49% of people that stay together? What's their story and what is their dynamic? So they've done studies on this. What they have found is people that are still married, they're actually divided up into three camps equally as far as their feedback goes on the relationship dynamics and how successful they are. And literally, it's split up almost exactly one third, one third, and one third. So, one third of relationships that stay together can actually identify their relationship is working. In other words, like, man, this is awesome. Like, it's actually everything I've wanted it to be. I'm in love with her. She's in love with me. Our sex life is great. We're aligned with parenting. There really isn't a whole lot of complaints. It's almost like this is my ride or die person. It feels really good to me. So that's one third. And I'll go back to that here in a second of what that common denominator is. The second 33%. So the second one third. I feel like when I say stuff like this, I feel like, Brian like Fantana from Anchorman is like 60% of the time it works every time. Like I literally feel like that when I quote this stuff, but it is what it is. One third of couples that stay together who are still married, settle, completely settle. And what that really feels like is a roommate. We co-parent. We're intimate sometimes, sometimes we're not. We don't really do date nights, but we don't really fight. Maybe we have arguments here and there, but it's like, it's fine. And I'm not going to go to the trouble of getting divorced because that's expensive. And I guess this person's tolerable. But as far as like that deep connection where they feel like, damn, woman, I love you. And damn, dude, you are awesome. It's not there for that group. The last one third of people that stay together, total disconnection. Total disconnection, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, nothing there. They're roommates living underneath the same roof. Sometimes they have extracurricular relationships outside of their marriage. The two reasons that they stay together, that they don't get divorced, is it's too expensive and we're waiting for the kids to move out. Otherwise, they're done. They're completely done. So when you really boil it down, 12% of people that walk down the aisle get it right. Isn't that crazy? 12%. That means 88% of couples fall in that divorce realm, that settled realm, or like, I don't like you anymore, but I'm not going to divorce you just yet realm. That's really scary, right? So the common denominator for couples that are successful is really interesting. A man who, and I got to applaud you guys. You guys are here learning from each other, right? Iron sharpens iron. You're being coached, right? The most powerful common denominator for a successful marriage is a man who's willing to step into growth, to step into community, to learn tactical things, to have skill acquisition in order to connect with his wife, in order to create intimacy with his wife, to lead himself, to lead her, to lead the family. That is one of the most powerful things for a couple to have success, because usually what happens is when a man decides to lead or to dive into growth like this, usually they follow much easier and they come along for the ride. Now, let me say this with a quick caveat. We have two choices. You can either coach your wife or you can sleep with her. One of the two. You can't be both. You can't do both. And I'll tell you why. Larry's laughing because he knows this stuff. But like, you can't coach your wife because a lot of guys, when they get involved with a group like this, they're like, oh man, if she just understood this stuff, or if she got into a community, or if she got a coach, or she got her stuff together, oh my God, we would be superheroes together. And a guy, what he'll do is he'll get really excited. He'll tell his wife everything that she should be doing, the things that she's doing wrong, how to make it right, and all that stuff. And then she despises him for it, right? Like literally, like repels. She repels from him, like hates it. And a guy is like, what in God's name is happening? Like I'm like growing, I'm evolving, like I'm like this dude, and I'm trying to help her out. And all the while, what he doesn't realize is he's talking instead of showing. So like if you really want to inspire your wife, it's not like, hey, I saw you do that with the kids. You probably shouldn't do it that way. I just learned in this new community that, it's better if you connect with the kid, because that's when we have influence. We want to have a conversation around curiosity instead of like just throwing down the hammer like that. Well, now she despises you for what you said, and she despises the group that you're in, and she doesn't want to sleep with you. So that's no fun. Instead, what it could look like is if you simply show her. So like, for instance, if you want your wife to be more patient with the kids, you be more patient with the kids. If you want to communicate on a deeper level with your wife, you got to start that conversation and have a deeper conversation with your wife. If you want to be more patient with your kids, show her what more patience with your kids actually looks like by example. So lead with your actions and not your words. So that's a lot to say, that when a man steps into leadership like this, he's got a much greater chance of being that 12%, but he has to do the showing and not the telling. So that's one aspect. Another aspect of this is, I wish someone would have told me this 22 years ago when I first got married. Does anybody know your significant others, your wife or your spouse, partner, wherever we're called? I'm 50 years old, so she's my wife. Like, she's not my partner, she's my wife. Like, but for your partner, your significant other, whoever she might be, do you know her three needs in a relationship?
Being taken care of.
Being taken care of. Okay, that's a guess. What else?
No, it's not a guess. Well, okay, I'll call it a guess.
Well, I mean, there's some more things to it, but yeah, being taken care of. But like, how do we do that? All right. So like, what else you guys got?
You gotta listen to her.
Listen. Okay, heard. That's one. She needs.
We'll say the attention, being of something of focus in my life.
Yeah. So seen, right? Heard, and so seen and heard. And what's the last one? Does anybody know?
I would say cherished.
Cherished. And Brian, what were you going to say?
I think there's obviously a theme seen, heard, and I don't know, touched, felt, or held.
That's usually us. We like the physical stuff.
That's for sure.
I mean, not to say they don't, but that's usually not their top three. The last one is safe. And Larry, going back to you, taken care of. You fulfill those three needs, she feels very taken care of. So but what usually happens is, anybody know your three needs as a man in a relationship? I'm sure there's one that comes right to mind right away.
Acceptance.
Okay, acceptance. Okay, that's good. There's a little bit more specificity to it, but let's keep going. Touched. Yes, physical affection. Which, by the way, when you're physically touched, you feel accepted, right?
And then this is what you're looking for, but I'm going on a guesstimation of respected.
Respected is another one. Respected, physical contact. There's one more.
Valued.
Okay, it's appreciated. You guys got it. So it's respected, appreciated, and physical affection, right? Which those are all the things that make a man feel Kappa accepted, right? So think about it. One of the worst things you can do to a man is disrespect him, right? But disrespect, like what's even worse than that is disrespecting him publicly. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been disrespected by a woman or by your wife in front of your kids. It's like one of the worst kick in the balls ever, right? You're just like, holy crap, like the world just stopped right now, right? With a comment you just made. A man who's not appreciated for his efforts, not that we want to do things for the agenda of appreciation, but let's be honest. If your wife or significant other girlfriend came up to you and just grabbed you by your face and said, hey, I just want to thank you. You are working your ass off for us. Like you're out there killing yourself to provide for us. I don't tell you this enough, but my gosh, man, thank you so much for everything you do. How would you respond to that?
Get like 5 times more shit done that day.
Right? Yeah. So appreciation, and then the physical affection. Let's just be honest, right? Let's break stereotypes in this call right now. Are you guys, when you guys want to have sex with your wives or partners or girlfriends, is it because you want the physical release? Is that the only reason?
No.
No. What? Why else?
I want to be close to her.
Intimacy?
I
Yeah.
want to communicate
Intimacy.
like something that she is an attractive, appealing woman that I desire still, but in a different context than maybe I might have behaved when I was a fool with women.
Yeah. Right. It's a way, Jeff, you show love, right? Brian, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I just said it's like physical intimacy. Doesn't have to always be about that release.
It doesn't. In fact, if you really, like, man, we've helped almost 5,000 guys over 10 years in our program. And if you really get to the heart of man, like, why do you like to have sex with your wife? I have rarely heard it's because I like to get off. It has everything to do with, like, I feel really connected to her when we have sex. When we have sex, man, I feel insanely loved. Like, when I have sex with her, I feel like I'm loving her in like the most raw, primal way possible. And it's like I get to do this thing with her that nobody else gets to. And she gets to do this with me that I don't do this with anybody else. Like, this is like something so unique and unbelievable in our relationship that connects us on a level that, quite frankly, friendship will never even touch. Right. So it's like this vulnerable, authentic, unbelievable expression of love. And yeah, the bonus is the physical part at the end. It's like, ooh, man, that was awesome. Right. But if you get to the heart of a man, that's not really what it's about. It's about that connection. It truly is. So here's one of the biggest problems, Larry, back to one of the things you asked. We usually, as men, we try to fulfill her needs and ours. So we respect her, right? We usually are pretty good at that. We definitely appreciate her. I'm sure you guys probably compliment the hell out of your wives, right? You're always like, oh, you're beautiful, you're this, you're that, right? And our hands are all over her, right? Usually that's how we love her. And then we're like, why is she not like digging this? Like, I would dig it, right? But what she needs is, when you're talking to her, she needs you to be zeroed in and not just listening for her words. You need to know how to validate her emotional state and not solve her problems. Because a man who listens is a sexy man. A man who knows how to validate her feelings and like, tell me more about that. What's going on? I really want to know. Tell me more. A man who is interested is interesting. A man who is interested is insanely attractive. So this is why when women go out on first dates with guys and guys are like hanging on every single word that they're saying, they're like, oh my God, this is like the best dude on the planet, because he listens. He sees me. And the thing about the scene is, like, being very specific about the things that she does or things that you notice that you appreciate. Be like, hey, I noticed that you were insanely patient with Colton, like, the other day. Like, dude, he was testing you big time and you remained calm. And I just want to point that out, that was awesome that you did that. And a woman, like, for you to say that to a woman is almost like her coming up to you and ripping your shirt off. Like, that's how great it feels for them. The last thing I'll say about this safety aspect, that is the biggest button for a woman. And a lot of guys are like, she's safe, I'm not going to hurt her. That's not the kind of safety I'm talking about. Think of it this way. Think of a woman's safety like a tree. And these branches that branch out everywhere, there's tons of different elements that go along with safety. So, like, for instance, if she needs to give you some feedback, like, I'll be very honest. You guys don't even know me. I don't drink anymore. I really never had a problem drinking. I gave up drinking about a year ago just on a whim. I was like, I just don't really feel like drinking. And then it turned into like a year. But I would say my wife has known me for 29 years. I've gone through seasons where I drank too much, and my wife needs to feel certain that if she needs to give me some loving, constructive criticism, like, hey, I just want to let you know, like, I've noticed that you've drank a little bit more than normal lately. And I just want to share that I'm a little concerned about how much you're drinking. Now, in order for a woman to say something like that out loud, she's got to feel safe that you are not going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? I'm fine. Like, don't even worry about me. You should worry about you. That doesn't make a woman feel safe. But when you can receive feedback, when you can be, or like, for instance, if you have kids, if you're trigger happy on the patients and you're a yeller, that doesn't make her feel so safe that you're a great dad with the kids, right? If you're a guy that spends money on a whim, like, hey, like I just bought a $7,000 hot tub and you come home, that's not going to make her feel too financially safe. Like, you did what? Like, are you serious? You know, that tugs on that safety button. Um, the other thing is this, physical safety, right? Like it or not, it is what it is. This is hard truth. It was hard for me to hear this. And this sounds very shallow and it sounds very surface level. But it is what it is. It's just how we are as human beings. But I'll share a perspective that our wives have, and they don't say it out loud, but it's there. So, and to be really honest, guys, we do the same crap. So here's the perspective. Your wife, like physically and aesthetically, a man who physically takes care of his body is usually a man who also will take better care of his mind, is also usually a better man, unless you're Andrew Tate, will better take care of his emotions. So a man who has more strength, physicality, and that kind of thing, she's going to feel more protected around a guy who it is well taken care of as far as his physicality goes. You know, she's going to feel safer. The other thing a woman will do, like it or not, it is what it is. But when we're all at a birthday party for our kids and it's all couples, right? And you're there with her, she's there with you, and there's 6 other couples. Your wife is literally looking around going, how does my husband stack up? Did I marry the runt of the litter or did I marry the stallion? Which one did I get? She's making those quiet judgments. She really, really is. And she doesn't mean it to hurt you, but she's basically eyeballing up where does her husband stack up among the others. It is what it is. And if you think that's abnormal, I guarantee you there's probably a time or two that you've been in a room with other couples and you've seen other wives and you're like, where's my wife stack up? Right?
Mm.
Maybe it wasn't so obvious, but you're probably eyeballing going like, am I with the prettiest one? So I say that about the physical thing because a woman does feel a bit safer with a man who's got some physicality to him. So I'll pause there for a second.
All right, I want to follow up with what you just said. Where, if at all, do those 3 attributes for each of the men and the women relate to the 5 love languages?
They're pretty darn close. So think of the 3 basic needs as the foundation of the house. Okay.
Mhm.
That is what people need to be fulfilled. However, Gary Chapman talks about the love languages as love tanks. Okay. Think about those needs. Maybe foundation is the wrong word. Think about those needs as tanks. Okay. The love language will feed that tank. So, like, for instance, my wife, her 2 primary love languages are acts of service and quality time, right? So if I want to fulfill her needs of being seen, heard, and safe, when I take her out on a date, that's quality time, right? But when she's talking, if I'm in my phone and looking all around, I'm really not feeding that tank too terribly well, regardless of the quality time. So I need to make sure that yes, I'm fulfilling a love language by being there with quality time, but I also need to make sure that I'm fueling those 3 needs while I'm in that quality time, right? That's a great question. There's actually one more level to love languages. And by the way, do you guys know the love languages? Are you familiar with them?
Yep.
Okay.
Most of the men here know.
Okay. It's just to review. So it's physical touch, words of affirmation, which, by the way, those 82% of men are physical touch and words of affirmation. Compliment us and touch us. We love you for that, right? Quality time, acts of service. Most women, 70% of women are acts of service and quality time. And then there's gifts. Gifts is usually the last for people, but there's gifts. There's another element to this, like think of it as stacking it, called the emotional bank account. The emotional bank account are the tactical things that you do in order to fulfill those love languages. So, like, for instance, one of the things my wife loves the most, it's an act of service, is like she's in a house with 4 boys. She calls it, I'm surrounded by 10 balls all day long. So one of the things that really fill her up is when she can get out of here and be around her girlfriends. Like, it's like literally food for her soul. Like, she's like, oh my God, like when I can go get a happy hour and just have time with my girlfriends, you have no idea what that does for my mentality and even like how attracted to you I am, because when I get a break and I'm recharged, oh man, you become the sexiest dude alive. So one of the things that I'll do is I'll call her friend Jill. I'm like, hey Jill, what are you doing this Friday? Oh, nothing. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you bring your boys over here? They'll play with my boys. You and Jessica go out and get a happy hour. When I do that, that is such a powerful act of service. That is such a powerful thing to put in her emotional bank account. It's very specific. And she comes home like, you're like the best thing ever. Right. So like the specificity of it is really, really key. So think of the 3 needs as like your tanks. The 5 love languages are the fuel that go in that tanks. And the emotional bank account is like the premium jet fuel that you can choose the specificity to go do that thing.
Who'd like to ask a question?
Well, I had a couple. One was around, the idea of what leadership looks like without control in a relationship, like with inside that family unit. You really did touch on that, and I really liked it being, it's an example, not a control thing, right? Show them. I appreciated that. So you kind of covered that as an earlier question. The question I was kind of interested to ask you is, what were like maybe the 1, 2, or 3 things that were noticeable changes you had to make as a man as you became a father for the first time? And maybe you didn't see as clearly until the second, but what were the 1, 2, or 3 things that were major pivots for you?
1, 2, or 3 things. I think there's been like 3,000 that I've had.
I'm sure they were the first major 3 things that might have come up, if you can recall them, just kind of those epiphany moments that kind of shake you.
I was just talking about this on a podcast today. Here's one big epiphany. How many of you guys are not dads? Okay, so 3 of you guys, and then Brian, you got a 15-month-old, right?
Yep.
Okay. So this is what I had to, I've been a dad for 19 years, and I wish I would have learned this one thing. And the biggest pivot that I had to make was my perception of being a father. Let me explain. Brian, what do you do for a living?
I'm a personal trainer.
Oh, okay, cool. And I thought you were just like grew epic beards on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, so are you certified in personal training?
Yeah, I've been a trainer for 10 years.
10 years. What certifications do you hold?
I don't even know how many of them I have now, but I have a bunch of nutrition ones, like a lot of different courses ones, a lot of injury rehab ones, and I think I've done them all. I've done are you asking about the actual personal trainer ones?
No, just like so. Well, let me ask a different question. So it sounds like you've done a lot of work to be certified.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this:
Yeah.
How many hours would you not personal training clients, but
Yeah.
talk about the amount of hours that went into learning how to be a trainer and being certified? And I just combine all your certification hours together.
I don't know, couple thousand. I want to say probably over 10 years. Yeah.
All right. And then Jeff, what do you do for a living?
Sales,
Okay. What do you sell?
into the technology space.
Did you go through a training process?
Yeah, it began when I was 19 years old, because, well, a little bit before that, in junior times, but my career kicked off at 19, and I had a lot of mentors. I had a lot of people that I supported in that field. I was dragged around. And then, yes, I regularly invest in trainings all the time. I have conversations one-on-one with people all the time, and obviously a lot of calls.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. Does anybody do martial arts? Anybody do jujitsu or anything like that?
My younger years, way back, I did Okinawan karate.
Okay. So you Mr. Miyagi trained you. I got you. How many years did you do that?
I did that 5 years.
5 years. Were you a black belt?
Just about. I was brown going on black and dislocated a knee. I played soccer also, and I got injured in that, and had to decide which path I wanted to take, so I gave up martial arts.
Got it. Okay. Thank you for that. By the way, if you guys see me look over here, my screen's here, but my camera's here. So if I'm confusing anybody, it's because I'm looking at you guys here. But okay, so here's the perception. When I became a dad for the first time, I was like, I'm a man, I'm a husband, I'm a father now, so I'm a dad. Like I'll be fine at this. I'll wing it just like everybody else. Like, I didn't even know enough to know that I was even winging it at the time. But my perception was, well, we're supposed to be good at this. And then you get a wake up call over and over and over again, how unprepared for fatherhood you really, really are. And you're scratching your head being like, why is this not working? Like, why am I so frustrated? Like, why can I get my arms around this? Like, what is even happening here? So I'll share a story with you guys. So Brian, I was a trainer through college. I got my degree in sports med with a minor in nutrition. So I get that field. I went into sales. Jeff, I was in sales for 18 years. I did medical device sales. So I was in surgery. Rich, I did martial arts for 12 years. And when I became a dad, like I was like ready to be a dad, right? And it was a disaster for 6 years. And it finally came to a head one night. My 4-year-old son, who's 17 now, I swore to myself, because how I was raised in a really abusive environment, that I would never hit my kids out of anger. And I broke that promise. And I hit my 4-year-old son. I spanked him. And I spanked him so hard, unfortunately, he hit the ground. He fell. But the story actually gets worse. I went to go pick him up because I was like, oh my God, what the hell did I just do? And I went to go pick him up, and he saw me coming to help him, and he literally closed his eyes and like, please don't hurt me. I'd never hit my son up to that point, and I have never hit my kids since. But that was a culmination of so many failures over and over and over and over and over again, and it finally just one night I just exploded and I reacted, right? And we've all had moments like that, right? I didn't want to have that moment. That night, I went into my office and I am freaking crying, because the way I was raised, being a father, it was a very big deal for me not to fail, because my childhood was nuts. I won't even go into it, but it was crazy. I'll put it this way. I didn't meet my biological father until 20 years ago, until I was 30. He left me twice as a kid. And it was nuts. My childhood was crazy, but I didn't want to repeat that. And so when that was happening and I knew it was happening, I went into my office, and this is the night Dad Edge got started. And I'm crying in my office, and I'm like, why can't I get this right? Like, what is happening here? And I just started thinking about things in my life that I was decent at. And I was like, why is it that I can sustain a pretty good physical appearance? Like, why do I know how to get lean and build muscle and all this stuff? Well, I have a 4-year degree in that and 2 personal training certifications. So I know how to do that. I was like, well, why am I okay? Why am I pretty good at martial arts? Well, I go to class 3 times a week. I've been doing it for 10 years. I've got an instructor. I've got a community. I've got a curriculum. I'm learning. And then I started looking at my job in sales. Like, I'm in the OR every day. I was in a 90-day training regimen, day in, day out, before they even allowed me to set foot in an operating room with a surgeon. And that was even supervised for 60 days. So there's like this whole thing. Like, think about it. Every single guy in this virtual room needed to take a test in order to drive a car. So you had to have working knowledge of that stuff. And when we're thrusted into fatherhood, it's like, hey, Brian, I know you don't know a thing about the body or personal training, but here's 20 clients. I want you to get them in premium shape in 3 months. And you're like, wait, what do you want me to do? No, don't worry, man. You'll figure it out. Just, best time of your whole life. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Richard, back in your early years when you were doing Okinawan karate, you go to a tournament, right? Or you weren't doing karate yet. You enter into a tournament, you get your rear end handed to you, and you're like, why did that happen? And people are looking at you like, dude, have you ever trained in your entire life? Well, no, of course not. So like, that's the light bulb, I think, for men, is like, holy crap, my perception of this thing is all wrong. Just because I'm a dad, that doesn't mean that I'm going to be good at it unless I learn, right? Unless I'm willing to learn, which is like the pursuit of learning. So that's, I think, the number one thing that guys get wrong, is that our perception of this thing is so off, right? We think we're supposed to be great at it with hardly any mistakes, but we have no training with it.
So Larry, following up on that, particularly for the men right now who are not yet dads, with the benefit of hindsight, if you could be in their shoes now in your life with what you know now, what would you do when you're that 25-year-old man who is not yet even married and had kids?
I would just, to be honest, and by the way, Nelson, are you 25-ish?
I'm not. I'm 32.
32. Okay. All these youngsters. Michael, where you at?
I'm 28.
28. God bless. I'm like double your age, man. But here's what I would tell you. Like a lot of, I think you guys' generation is further along than mine when it comes to really stepping into personal development. Like I remember, Larry, you probably remember this, and Richard, you probably remember this, like the Tony Robbins days. Like I got his stuff on tape, like cassette tape. Michael's probably like, what's a cassette tape? I'm kidding. But like literally, like self-development was like really woo-woo and really weird. And people are like, Tony Robbins, isn't he a weird? Like, but now personal development is around every corner. It's actually a cool thing that you want to do. But I would focus on being the best possible man you can possibly be. And what I mean by that is, you know, take care of your physical body. I just ruptured my patella tendon on my left knee. It's the worst injury I've ever had in my life. It sucks. But take care of your body the best way you can. Feed it fuel, not fluff. Feed your mind with truth and not noise, right? And protect your energy like it's nobody's business. If you guys are in relationships or if you're around people that bring you down, it's like the crab trying to escape the bucket. What happens? The other crab's pulling back down. You've got to be a guardian around your energy. And if you are around people that are energy vampires, get rid of them. So that's number one. Number two, develop emotional IQ, right? You will set yourself way apart from every other husband, man, and father if you have a little bit of emotional IQ. If you know how to connect with a woman, if you know how to be more patient with your kids, if you know how to create an environment of what's called psychological safety, where people want to tell you things because they feel safe to do so, you're in a really good spot. Mental health. Oh my gosh, we could go on and on about that. Be really crisp with your mental health. Your mental health is so important. When you feel yourself start to spiral, if you are depressed, if you have anxiety, call a friend, call one of these guys, right? Dude, I am in the dungeon right now in my mind. It is dark and I need to talk. Don't be too proud. Don't have an ego. In the 10 years I've been doing this and 5,000 men that we've helped, we've only had 2 men kill themselves. And that is too many. When you have a man who takes his own life on your watch and you know him because he thought that there was no other way and all he had to do was pick up the phone and hundreds of guys would have been there for him, never, ever hesitate to call somebody if you are in the dark. And then the final thing is this. I hope I don't offend you guys, but to be honest, I really don't care. Get into a relationship with God. Get into a relationship with God. I know it's overwhelming. I know it's hard. I know it can be confusing. Our Father, our Creator, He is the best thing in the world to get into a relationship with. So that would be my advice as a man.
But do you have some favorites in the context of, let's talk about feeding the mind. Who do you like to read or follow their principles, your top 2 or 3 people?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I love John Eldredge. For those of you guys who might know who John Eldredge is, I just love his stuff, his books. He wrote a book called Wild at Heart. It's so good. It speaks so much to the mind and the heart of a man, a really good man, a really good faith-based man. So I would say when it comes to that kind of thing, I love John Eldredge. Dr. John Deloney, who's one of Dave Ramsey's successors over at Ramsey Solutions. That guy knows the psychological mind better than anybody. He's so approachable. And he wrote a book called Building a Non-Anxious Life. And he's just really, really real. And his stuff, it just resonates with us as guys. Dr. Robert Glover, he wrote the book No More Mr. Nice Guy. Oh my gosh. We've been talking about that book in our community for 10 years. And
He was a speaker here.
We had him speak at our group here.
well, then yeah. So like, I always joke with Robert. I'm like, dude, your book pisses people off and it sets them free all in the same time. So like, it really, really does. But those are the guys I go to.
Sorry, the second one, John Delaney, you said? How do you spell that?
John Deloney. It's Deloney.
I have a question. The 5,000 men you've worked with, have you had any that were abused by their wives?
Yeah, we have a handful that I know for sure. I'm sure there's more, but men I've had conversations with. Yeah. That's a tough one. That's a really, really tough one.
The follow-up question I want to ask you, Larry, is, and I find this in my relationship, she's a wonderful woman. She's always asking me about what we do, what we talk about in the men's group. And I say, I can't, it's confidential. That being said, I'm obviously doing the work and continue to improve. And taking Jazar's case, if we're here like this conceptually, and I'm getting better and she's relatively staying stationary because she's not doing the work, how do I don't want to use the word compensate, but if this gets bigger and bigger by bigger, is that not going to just create a problem in the future?
It could, it depends on the dynamics of your relationship. I can use my own relationship as an example. My wife and I couldn't be further apart on the spectrum of personal growth than I love it. I'll eat it up all day long. Like I'll even joke with her. I'm like, why do you read a book that's fiction? Like if it doesn't have truth to it.
I'm with you. That's my attitude.
I'm like, why waste your time reading Harry Potter? It's not even real. Like, not, she doesn't do that, but like, I'm just like, why are you reading the Notebook? It's not even real. But like, but it's like, I am very eager to continue to learn, to continue to sharpen myself. And like, I think you're just wired that way.
Right.
For the longest time, I've known my wife for 28 years or 29 years this year. We've been married for 22. I used to get, to be honest, like kind of my panties in a bunch because I was just like if you're not growing with me, then this is going to become a problem. And what I learned, and going back to what I was saying before, is the leadership aspect, right? You showing her, not telling her. What I've noticed in my relationship, I've noticed this in other guys when they start to do this too. It's like when I just stop talking and when I stop talking about like how she should grow or maybe sort of influence her growth by some of the things that I should say or do or whatever, it comes down to the action. So like I don't know if you guys have ever read the book, then it's kind of newer. It's called Let Them by Mel Robbins.
My lady just finished it.
Oh my gosh, I'm only in chapter 3. It's amazing. But
She's already thrown it in front of me.
Sorry, what was the title again, Larry?
Let Them.
Let Them theory.
Yeah.
The Let Them theory, yeah.
As soon as you relinquish the worry of like, is she going to grow? I'm growing. Is she going to grow? She should grow. Otherwise, we're going to grow apart. And as soon as you do this, she can grow if she wants. And then I'll decide, or she will, right? Like, have we outgrown each other? I'm not going to stop my growth and I'm not going to badger her for her to grow. That's going to ruin our relationship. But what I can do is I can probably lead her or influence her growth by me just doing it. And that's what I've noticed. As soon as I shut up about it and I just started doing things, she actually, she'll never pick up a self-help book, but she knows more about personal development now than a lot of people just by the stuff that we talk about, right? Just the stuff that we have everyday conversation about now. So perhaps what I used to think, maybe this will help. I used to think like, well, shit, I'm in a mastermind. She should be in a mastermind. I'm reading these books. She should read these books. But people, I think, integrate things like this differently. So my wife will never join a woman's group ever. She'll never pick up a self-help book, but she'll have a conversation with me all day long about like what it means to have a growth mindset. So like that's where we found the entry point is really.
Okay. Let's hear from some of the other men who haven't talked yet.
My wife has done the Sterling Weekend. She is in a women's group. She's done 3 landmark courses. Personally, she's developed. Maybe not enough, but that's not a guarantee that there's not something that's just going to derail someone along the way. What I would tell you is, for me, I'm just staying the course and, like Larry said, keep building myself up because that's the only thing I can control is myself, So have faith in the relationship that the stronger you get, the more she will, get used to who you are, hopefully.
Yeah, so I have a question. Of the 5,000 men you've worked with over the last several years, what have you observed, I guess, as pros and cons with the men who chose not to have kids?
Oh.
And has that served them?
That's a great question. And to be
That's a good
honest,
question.
I don't think I can answer that, to be honest, because I would say I've only known two guys in the 10 years we've been doing this work that didn't have kids.
Wow.
And that, but I think like when you go to a community like Dad Edge, like you're that kind of pre-qualifies you as you're probably a dad. So I don't
Mhm.
probably feel like I probably don't feel like I can answer that question very well for you.
Fair enough. That might have been an ignorant question to ask, knowing the whole premise of your podcast is about fatherhood.
Yeah.
Uh, but I was more so asking because like I run a painting business and I'm in and out of people's homes all the time. And I see clients of mine who chose not to have kids. And I've asked them point blank, like, did you regret this or not? And most of the time, they've actually, both the husband and the wife have unanimously said, like, God, no, like, we travel, we have like lots of sex. Well, they don't say that, but I can definitely. But like, I can tell like they're doing things that they'd want to do that if they had kids, maybe they wouldn't be doing. So I don't know. It just seems like their lifestyle is more freedom oriented in a sense.
Yeah. That's a good point.
I just find it really interesting though when I hear those kind of things from people, because anybody who's ever become a father will never regret becoming a father. The other ones may say they don't regret becoming a parent, but they'll never know. Or maybe till it's too late. I've run across some people that way.
it's a
Well,
really
you men have heard me say that, I never had kids because I found out 5 years into the marriage my wife didn't want, and I was a wuss and I accepted it. Hindsight, I was not happy.
My cousin's the same spot as that.
And that's why the relationship I'm in with the woman I'm with, it was so important that she have kids.
Mm.
I'll say this, it's fascinating. We have such a variety of guys of their situations and backgrounds. I will tell you, Michael, because of how I was raised, there were father figures. It was a revolving door of toxic, horrible dudes. And I didn't want, like I told my wife when I met her in college, I was like, I'm not getting married, by the way. I'm just letting you know that. And I won't have kids. Like that was my mentality when I was in my early 20s, getting done with college. And it's because I was like, I don't know what to do, and I don't want this, and I certainly don't want the burden of screwing somebody else up. Like that's kind of the way I saw it. My wife was the opposite. My wife is like four generations, not one person in her family that ever been divorced. It's crazy to me.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's nuts. But here's what I'll tell you: a guy who is absolutely petrified beyond measure to have even one kid. And if you would have asked me 20 years ago, hey, do you think you'll have four kids? I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed at you before we had our third. I was like, yeah, we're staying at two. And then suddenly we got surprised with our third. I'm like, holy crap, like what's happening here? And then we had the fourth, and I'm like, I've turned into one of those people. Okay, great. But I'll tell you, like, my wife, here's what you can allow something like kids to burden your marriage or your relationship or your life. But I will tell you, my wife and I have been married for 22 years. We have sex a lot. We travel a lot. Like I'm more in love with that woman now than I was 10 years ago, but I think it goes back to like, are you willing to be in that 12% and put in the work? Like you are here, you don't have kids, you're already putting in the work. But I will now I'm 50 now. And what I will tell you, that's scared to death, 28-year-old in me. And I was your age when I started having kids. I was a little older. Like I look at it now, if I could have a conversation with myself at 30, I would be like, dude, I know you're scared. Like I know you probably have this thing labeled as like it is a terrifying thing that's probably just going to be a huge, huge heavy lift and a burden and it's going to be a lot of work. And it will be that at times. But dude, it is the best freaking ride of your life. Like it's like after I'm done with this call, me and my 9-year-old are going out in the backyard and we're practicing Taekwondo so he can get ready for his test on Saturday. Like I just love you just love that crap. Like he gets to look like you're somebody's hero. Like that's the way they look at you. Like they're just like, this is awesome. Like my dad's out here doing this stuff. Like it is truly amazing. And the other thing too is like when you hold your kid, hug your kid, when you look your kid in their face and you can see the face of your wife and you, it's like, I don't know if there's a deeper love that goes deeper than that. It's hard to match that.
Larry, I got to follow up on something. And I've listened to a few of your podcasts, so I know your background about how difficult the childhood was. It sounds like you and your wife, perhaps that's why you were dating for 7 years before getting married. How did you reconcile this issue of you coming from broken homes and obviously not wanting to get married, and she's totally opposite? What transpired to bring that together?
I mean, the thing that's really like sustained us, I think, is my wife came into our relationship with some pretty darn amazing relationship skills. Like she was smarter than me, and luckily she was also very patient with me, because she knew that I was like an idiot, like I was learning this stuff. But there's one thing that my wife still to this day will tell me is that I never settle. In other words, like I'm constantly trying to be better. I will constantly sidestep my ego and take feedback. That one's tough sometimes. I'm always like, what can I go learn? What can I go do? And I think that to be honest, it took me a while to get there because I think a lot of us guys were like, no, I don't need that. Like I'm good. Like I don't need that. Like, and that's that attitude. If any of you guys have ever felt that, like, I don't need that. I don't need community. I don't need to learn that. I would tell you to pay attention to that. Because the more you say, I don't need that, the more you might need it.
Yeah, so I mean, for the single men here, any advice on what to look for in a woman?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that one, man.
It's an ass.
Yeah.
I knew somebody was gonna fucking say it.
No childhood traumas or daddy issues.
All jokes aside, that's a big one. Relationship with father.
Yeah.
Look at their relationship with their father.
That is such a good question. I haven't been on the dating scene for almost 30 years, but like I always tell my wife, I was like there's no way I'd go anywhere else. Like you are the best. Like so like maybe this will help. My wife this is just personal preference. Any woman that is drama, and what I mean by drama is like exaggerated drama. Like some women are going to be they're emotional beings. That's who they are. But when a woman will go from a level 2 to a level 10, and quite frankly, everybody in the room, and you included, knows it's not necessary, that's kind of a red flag, of like, what kind of trigger, what kind of personality am I dealing with here, right? So like that's number one, is like, what is their personality like? In other words, are there any red flags of like really exaggerated behaviors, right? Or the other thing, like I always watch out for too, just anything that I like a woman who's kind of steady in her lane. If she lives her life like a zigzag all over the road, where she's like, yeah, I'm going to go out and have like a drink or two with my girlfriends tonight. And those drink or twos turn into she's 8 martinis deep and she's puking all over the place. And that's like a common thing. That's one example of many of like, I'm going to go do this, but then it always turns out to be something else that happens. Like, I think that's a red flag. I think a woman as a mom, right? So like the mom thing, if a woman is like, I don't want to be burdened with that, like, don't give me kid drama, like that, you signed up for that. Like, and that's just part of the deal, right? So a woman who has the emotional intelligence to deal with kids, because I mean, Brian, you probably know this, dealing with a 15-month-old, dealing with toddlers, it's like dealing with drunk people. Like they have no rationale whatsoever. It's like literally dealing with a drunk person. Like, and if you don't have the patience for that and you just can't be bothered with that, like that's part of being a mom and a dad. And so like just things like that. And then the other thing for me, I mean, this is just personal preference. A woman that doesn't have faith in her life, it's a huge red flag for me. I can't be with a woman that doesn't have some sort of relationship with God. But that's just me. And I call those, and this is what I tell my clients, you need to identify your non-negotiables. Like this is, or deal breakers. This is a deal breaker for me. And to know those, and to be honest, to not accept those, to not settle for those. Because what a lot of guys will do is be like, well, she is pretty dramatic and she does drink a lot and, you know, she doesn't really have a relationship with God, but oh my gosh, she gives an amazing blowjob and she's awesome in bed and she looks great naked. Like we can really get wrapped up in that. But I would caution all of us, like that only lasts so long. And then when I say it only lasts so long is like the enjoyment factor of that doesn't last as long as like sooner or later it starts to become like, yeah, you're great in bed, but you are just a pain in the ass. Like I just can't deal with you. So like that will eventually go away, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah. So know your non-negotiables.
Any advice for new fathers?
Yeah, I would you know, I mean, my first thing is always like be in community, and you already are, right? Learn as much as you possibly can. But here's the biggest one. When you have a 15-month-old, that was you, right, Brian?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And when you have a 15-month-old, like it's really easy. Like if you look at the relationship with your wife and the relationship is you just have one right now?
Yeah.
Okay. So you have a daughter, you have a wife. Think of it like what most guys will do, what most people will do, married couples will do is think of your relationship as two frying pans on the stove, right? On the stove top, and you're cooking. What a lot of people do, especially in that age range, you know, with the 15-month-old, is they take that marriage pot, that marriage pan, and they slide that one on the back burner and they put the kid in front. And I will tell you, don't do that. Swap them. Your wife needs to be your number one priority. You need to be her number one priority, and your daughter comes second. Now, when I say that, a lot of people are really triggered by that. But what I mean by that, I mean, like, if she wakes up in the middle of the night and she needs something, of course you're going to do that. You're not going to be like,
Yeah,
sorry.
I get what you're putting down. I know. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So yeah, priority is your marriage.
Heard. Thank you.
You bet.
Larry, perhaps you could give us a quick infomercial about your group and sort of, you know, because I looked at the website and looked like one could join for $97 a month. Tell us quickly about the group.
Yeah. So what the group you're talking about is called the Dad Edge Alliance. It's $97 a month. That one is for guys who have jobs. So what I mean by that is W-2 jobs, so careers or whatever. And we help guys in marriage, parenting, mindset, health, finances, and leadership. So, and it's a great program. We have about 600 guys in that group. So it's a great program. I have another group called the Boardroom. The Boardroom is for business owners. So some people ask, well, why did you carve out something different for business owners? Is there any business owners on this call?
Yep.
Okay. So well, you guys know, like the mind and the energy, the physical, mental, emotional toll and the energy that you have to put into your business, it never shuts off. It's not like you clock in and out. There's a ton that goes into it. So we created a specialized program just for business owners called the Boardroom, and we help men continue to grow and scale their business. That's part of it, but also helping you create the best freaking marriage you've ever had, along with creating the best relationship you've had with your daughter, your health, and your wealth. So we help men literally conquer all four of those things without those plates spinning off the swords, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's the Boardroom. I mean, I always point people in the direction of like, if you ever just want to kind of get to know what we do, and just start with the podcast. You know, you can download a podcast anywhere and listen to it anywhere. I've got 1,400 episodes, so I got enough to keep you busy for like a decade. I say that with caution though, because content in doesn't always mean good results out. If you want to have good results, stay in community like this or be in community like this, because it's through conversational excellence like this that we all get better.
Larry, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to ask the men to stay. On behalf of the group, thank you so much. I mean, I want to give you a compliment. I can tell you're a man who has done the work, and I'm sure you acknowledge that where you are today versus 10 years ago. I mean, you're so effortless in spouting out all these pieces of knowledge that are genuine and probably learned firsthand. But you know, even though you didn't like my title in the beginning about expert, you are one, even though you don't want to acknowledge it, because you're a humble man, and we appreciate that. We thank you so much for coming on tonight. I'm sure I speak for all the men that there's no question that I'm sure we've got more than a couple of kernels of thoughts and ideas and advice that are going to be helpful. So again, on behalf of the group, Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. This was a true honor. And yeah, if you guys ever need anything, like, or you got a question, you want to hit me up or anything, like, I answer all my own emails. The team doesn't do that, so I'm always available via email. You can shoot me an email if you need.
Thank you for listening to the Sovereign Man podcast. If you're ready to take charge of your life and become the man you've always wanted to be, we invite you to join the movement at sovereignman.ca.